joined by Geno Auriemma. Coach, do you have an opening statement or you want to go right to questions? We'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, how about we get started?
Questions for Coach?
That's a good one.
All right.
That's a good one.
We'll go right to Pat in the front row.
Pat Eaton-Robb from the Associated Press. Geno, with such a short bench going into the NCAA tournament, what have you been talking to them about in terms of being able to stay fresh and being able to stay out of foul trouble and all the things that go with only having this many players?
Yeah, it's funny because what we talk to our team about and what we talk about among ourselves as a coaching staff sometimes can be two completely different things, you know? We talk to our team about how we've got all the pieces in place, you know, we have everything that we need. We just need to try to recreate another weekend like last weekend, obviously different competition that we haven't seen before and different stakes. And for some of our older guys, which is, you know, 3 of them, it's not anything that they haven't experienced before. Trying to give them as much confidence as possible going in to the younger guys, obviously. Among ourselves and the coaches, hey, look, we have one way to win. If that way doesn't work, we're screwed and early vacation. So, you know, we have such limited ways of winning games that we have to be great at the one or two things that we are really, really good at, and we have to maximize those things and limit all the other things that can be going against us.
Question. Alexa.
Alexa Philp, ESPN. Geno, you mentioned the seniors that you do have. What do you need to see from them over the next few weeks to get to where you think you guys can go? And on the kind of flip side of that, how do you hope that they can help the freshmen kind of move along and do what they need to do at the same time?
Well, our seniors, they've got to play a role that is both within the control of who they are. They just got to be who they are. And then they've also got to play the role of putting up a front that if they're struggling with something, they can't let the younger guys know that we're struggling. They've got to keep a certain level. And I think the scoring, the rebounding, the leadership, the defense, all those things that those three are capable of doing, they're going to do. There's no doubt in my mind. They're going to do it. And I always go into every season, and maybe this is a new season, with the understanding that we have to win this with our veterans. And if the younger guys contribute, then that makes it that much easier to accomplish our goal. But we can't go in thinking, well, if our 3 seniors really struggle, the other guys will pick it up. It's not fair. That's not to say it can't happen, but it's not fair. As far as the younger guys, without mentioning any names, you know, like there's 4 of them, right? They range from the NCAA tournament, what's that? To delusional, I can win a national championship by myself. So they run that gamut, all 4 of them. So it'll be interesting to see which one of those shows up.
We'll go to Lori.
Lori Riley, Hartford Current. Geno, can you just talk a little bit about Aaliyah's decision that she made yesterday?
Nothing that was unexpected, to be honest with you. You know, there's only been actually 2 conversations that I've had with Aaliyah about this. One was a while back when it was brought to my attention that she might consider coming back. So I talked to her about it and gave her all the pros and cons. And at the end of the day, I said it's going to be your comfort level. And whichever way you go, obviously we'll be fine with it. But I always thought it was a real, real long shot because I think there is a cycle in college basketball. You spend 4 years someplace, you give it, like same thing Nika said, you pretty much pour everything you have into it, and then it's time to move on and go on to the next phase of your life. Nika's reason for doing it may have been different than Aaliyah's. And I don't think Nika's going to be a top 5, 6, or 7 draft pick. So her reasons may be different for going. And Paige's situation is different for staying. So I think everyone did what I thought they would do. Let's put it that way. None of them surprised me.
Go to Maggie on the left.
Maggie Bononi, CT Insider. Speaking about depth, Jackson State plays with almost double what you guys play with in terms of just available bodies. Just what do you see from them that really impresses you so far?
The interesting thing is you don't get to see much of some of the teams you're going to play in the NCAA tournament. So first of all, there's this misconception that because you never hear of them and you never see them, that, well, how can they be any good? So obviously we've never subscribed to that, and then watching them play, you could see why they've dominated that league and why they're so well coached and how hard they play and the things that they do are the things that make it difficult to play against. And it doesn't matter whether you're in their league or whether the non-conference games that they've played. This is a reason you want to be a number 1 seed, so you don't get this matchup in the first round. I always say during, later in the season, I don't care what seed we are, we just want to get in. Well, that's a bunch of crap because you're trying to avoid this game in the first round because they're good.
Question from Vicky on the right.
Vicky Fulkerson from the New London Day. Geno, I was going to ask you that, like they have a 6'6" post player, so just automatically that makes things like interesting, right? Like
Right.
That's one of the things that, Aaliyah has to handle that and not get foul
Yeah.
trouble, and it just, like you said, it complicates the whole thing.
Yeah, it does. It does. And a lot of times the NCAA tournament is truly about the matchups that you get. Each coach probably sits down and looks at their bracket and says, all right, here's the 16 teams in our bracket. We're going to have to play 6 of them. Here's the 6 we want to play because they fit our matchups perfectly. The chances of that ever happening are 0, all right? So you're going to run into situations where you're going to have to deal with something that's not your strength, and obviously size is not our strength. So that does pose a problem immediately. Their depth, there are things that you're going to come across. They rebound the ball hard. They get out in transition. They're undefeated in their league for a reason. One of the things I like to ask when we're getting ready to play in the NCAA tournament and we're playing somebody we've never seen before, I always ask, so how do they win? And then when they tell you how they win, it makes it sound like they're the favorite to win a national championship. And a lot of times when you say, well, how do they lose? And then they list 15 things why a team loses. Well, I asked our guys, so why do they lose? And they said, well, they don't lose in their tournament. And every game they did lose early on, it was a really tough game. So you can tell a lot about a team's losses, almost more than you can tell about their wins. And this is complicated tomorrow. It's complicated.
We'll go to Pat in the front row.
Geno, the portal opened before the tournament even began, and I think there's some crazy number, like 570 players in it right now. Several coaches have talked about how it's not that much fun anymore with these new rules. And do you expect there to be a lot of turnover in coaching because it's just become so different? And how do you deal with
Yeah.
preparing for the tournament and then keeping an eye on the portal and NIL and all
Yeah.
that?
You know, I love the people that do TV or media or sit up there and, you know, are holier than thou advocating for how the student athletes have been punished all these years and they're actually indentured servants and they should stop be treating as such. If any of them ever got a coaching job, they would flip 180 degrees immediately. So yeah, talking about playing tomorrow's game is complicated. This whole thing is complicated. And it's gotten more complicated because the adults in the room don't know how to fix it, and every decision they make is wrong. So you're left to deal with it. Any one of those things, NIL, the portal, would have been a challenge for most coaches in the country. Putting the two of them together and having to navigate both of those things, and for all those people out there, and coaches included, that say, well, you just have to adapt. All right? So if it's so easy to adapt, why are so many coaches so quick to get out all of a sudden at an age when you don't see people get out at that age? So not only are players deciding I've had it with this school, coaches are deciding I've had it with this profession. And it's not about I can't adapt or I can't do, it's, you know, those two things combined, the portal and the NIL, left to its own devices the way it is not only going to hurt the coaching profession and people are going to get out. First of all, it's killed the high school recruiting, because why would you recruit a high school kid when you can recruit a college kid? And second of all, it's killed every mid-major in America who've now become junior colleges, so to speak, because as soon as they develop a good player, that player's leaving. And then at the high majors, it's costing you money to get the kid there, and it's costing you money to keep the kid there. And it's costing you more money to make sure they don't leave. So no one is skating through this scenario going, yeah, I got this figured out. Nobody. Not the players, not the coaches, not anybody has it figured out. And that's unfortunate, but that's the world that has been created for us as coaches and the players as players. And unless somebody gets a grip of it and puts some, you know, guidelines around it, it's only going to get worse. And the last thing I would say, the unintended consequences of all this is that's 500 Division I players in the portal after 4 or 5 days. What do you think is going to happen after this tournament? How many more are going in? And you got till May 11th, I think it is, something like that. So there's a long way to go between now and then. How many of all these kids that get in, when the musical chairs stop, have no chair to sit in? And they're in an actually worse situation than they think they're in right now. No one talks about that. They should be free to go wherever they go. Good. What they don't understand is that school is free to not take you, and you're stuck. So that's all this is unfortunate, the way it's played out.
We'll take a question from Zoom. Kurt? Maybe?
No Zooming allowed.
I guess not.
No Zooming allowed. If you're not here, you're not here. Everyone who's here is here.
Kurt?
Apologies, Coach.
No worries.
Yeah, and I should be, clearly I should be there. Just quick question. It's Kurt Burns from TSN Canada. With Aaliyah's announcement yesterday, I'm wondering if you were able to just kind of reflect on her, on a more overarching, her 4 years of development or growth at UConn.
Yeah. Aaliyah coming out of high school, I remember watching her intently at the NBA Academy. They actually they had it at the Final Four. Actually, it was I think we were in Tampa, and ironically, she and Nika were roommates. But watching her play was just this young, competitive, run up and down hard every possession, and obviously very impressive, but needed, like most kids that age, to kind of harness all that and develop certain basketball skills. And over the 4 years, she's been able to add something each and every year that she's been here. And her competitiveness is still, way above average. Her athletic ability, or, her toughness is way above average. And learning how to play against players where she's undersized probably gets her ready for the next level, because that's what's going to happen a lot at the next level. And it's unfortunate that we've not been able, and this goes for Nika and Paige as well, that we've not been able to surround these three seniors with an entire team, almost the entire 4 years that they've been here. So, Aaliyah's had to work under much more trying situations than most players would have had to. And I think she's been, unbelievably consistent. And when you've had to do it by yourself so long, it's wearing. And she's managed to just, be great for us every night. Because, she has no choice, really. She has to be great.
We have time for two more. We'll go to Carl on the right, and then over to Maggie on the left.
Carl Adam at Crust Media. Geno, know how the freshmen have contributed, but want to ask about Cadence in particular. What kind of progress do you think she's made? How do you see her, what she needs to do in the offseason, looking ahead, and and just the role she's kind of filled? I asked her to look up Vinnie Johnson from the Detroit Pistons, the microwave sort of thing, but and I noticed you shake your head. But anyway, can you talk about her?
You don't need to encourage her to do that. Well, Jamel said this yesterday. He said she just looked at me and she was smiling a little bit. She said, "Coach, you saw something in her during recruiting, and whatever that was, you still keep seeing it in her, and she keeps showing you that the things you saw are really, really, really there." She's a gamer. She's competitive. She's not shy about shooting the ball. She finishes instinctively around the basket, way different than anybody other than Paige on our team. She's long. She's got a toughness about her. At some point in her life, she will, what's the easiest way to say it? She will come to understand that not every shot is a great shot just because you have the ball in your hands. That there are times when it's best not to shoot it. I didn't want to say that earlier in the year, and we're probably going to have to live with those in the tournament, because some are going to go and some are not going to go. So for the summer, understanding what that is going to be a big key, and then being better with the ball when you don't shoot it. I think that's the next thing for her going to be a stop. Be better with the ball when you don't shoot it. Be better with where you're going on the dribble. Be better with where you're going with the pass. And I expect her to do that.
Time for one more. Maggie on the left.
Maggie Benoni, CT Insider. Geno, I'm just wondering if you saw Shay's win on a Wednesday and just what she's done so far at Vanderbilt.
She was complaining that getting in about might have to be in a playing game. Oh my God, I hope we don't have to go here. Like all the things that coaches obsess about. And I reminded her that just getting in her second year was already a huge accomplishment. And she could coach at Vanderbilt for the rest of her life just for doing that, because it's been so long, you know, since that feeling has happened at Vanderbilt. And no surprise that they won. And won't be a surprise if they win the next one. I don't even know who they play. But it won't be a surprise to me, because there's a style of play that they have, you know. She and Tom, you know, Tom brought a lot of his stuff that he was doing, and Shay brought a lot of stuff that she's been doing. And that match, I think, has been terrific for them. And they have an identity, they have a style. And those are two very, very competitive people, Shay and Tom. And they've passed that down to their team. Their team is super competitive. It doesn't usually happen that fast. You know, they won their first NCAA tournament game. I texted her and I said, I'm jealous. I said, it took until our third try for us to win our first game. And both of those were home that we lost. So I'm super proud of her. I can't say enough about the job that she's done. And they're in our bracket, aren't they? Not in ours, though. They're in Portland, right? Are they in our bracket? I didn't even check that far down. I only know this weekend. They are? Is there a chance that we would play them if we keep winning? All right, I hope we play them then. Hell yeah, I hope we play them. So I'm going to be rooting for her until then.